On today's episode, we are joined by the multi talented Sakshi, a fashion enthusiast, influencer, and stylist with a unique blend of expertise in fashion and marketing. With a background in textile design from NIFT, which is National Institute of Fashion Technology, a prestigious college in India, and a master's in marketing from the University of Surrey. Sakshi brings a fresh perspective to the table. She has collaborated with multiple brands across charity, skincare, and tech, and is currently creating content for a global bank while sharing her love for fashion through her platforms. Living in London has only fueled her passion, and she is on a mission to make waves in the fashion industry here. Let's listen to her inspiring journey and talk all things about fashion, branding, and creating. First of all, Sakshi, thank you for coming to the show. My first question is, can you please share your journey with us? How did you go from studying textile design at NIFT into doing a master's in digital marketing, to be precise, in the UK? What inspired that change?
First of all, it's really my pleasure to be here. My journey, to be honest, it's rather than an inspiring experience, it's more of a funny story what inspired my shift. So I basically graduated from NIFT during COVID when it was at its peak, and our placements were cancelled. And I had plans of going abroad and studying, but they were in the later stage, not immediately after my undergrad. But then I thought, rather than sort of living here and not knowing what to do and not having a job, let me just complete my master's and get done with it.
Yes.
I would have chosen a master's in fashion if it came after my job or something, but then because I was doing it directly after my undergrad, fashion is not considered very serious in India like 6 7 years ago. Now the things have changed,
Yeah,
and I was very intimidated by going to a foreign country, already experiencing the cultural shock and getting into an overwhelming field like fashion. It
of
can be
course.
really intimidating because I've like interned in fashion industry, and people, you have
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
like really strong willed and strong gutted to just be
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So I was like, what, I'm not going to do fashion, I'm going to do marketing, because I felt like, during COVID there were so many influencers coming up and
Yeah.
marketing was booming like anything. So I was like, seems like more of
Yeah.
comfortable feel. I can just sit behind my laptop and probably do it and don't have to deal with people. So I
Yeah.
kind of chose marketing because it related to fashion, and it seemed a more safer approach than going directly into
Yeah.
fashion in a
Yeah.
foreign country. So yeah, that was my inspiration of why I chose marketing over fashion when I did my masters.
Okay, so it was COVID that contributed to
Yes,
this
yes,
decision
it
because
was, and
yeah,
I think I didn't have enough trust in myself to kind
yeah,
of think that what, I can do it no matter what.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
that changed with time.
of course. So, okay. So, because you saw influencers, on social media, they were talking about marketing, and at that time, we are talking about 6 to 7 years ago, people
Yeah, yeah,
were
yeah.
not into fashion that much in India.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no.
Do you think it has changed now? Like, people are more fashion conscious in India now, or have become fashionably aware, if that's the term.
I think because of Instagram somehow, it's like if you don't take photos, it didn't happen. So I think sort of it's like self marketing, I would say, in those
Yeah,
perspective where if I'm doing it, I'm gonna take a picture and make sure everyone's aware of it. So I think
yeah,
that is what has happened. And of course Instagram and I think TikTok, it was
yeah,
when it was there, that was a big factor of why we were knowing the trends, the ice bucket challenge or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
That's what got the sort of awareness about what was going on in the entire world and kind of
yeah,
piqued everyone's curiosity. And yeah, I think
yeah,
we're becoming more and more aware. And of course,
yeah,
like so many designers are coming up from India and so many
yeah,
homegrown brands. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely, I think India has changed a lot in these
A lot,
five
yeah,
six years, five
yeah.
six years.
Fashion
Yes,
wise, yeah, yeah,
yes,
true
yes,
that.
yes,
Yeah, I
it was.
agree. Uh, Okay, tell me, how did you start your career as a fashion influencer? Was it a natural step from your
Yeah.
fashion background, or was there a specific moment or idea that pushed you in that direction? Usually, what happens with people is that,
Hmm.
I mean, what I have noticed that basically they were always, since their childhood, they were
Yeah.
always inclined towards fashion. So was it
Yeah.
natural to you, or something changed? Like, okay, I want to pursue in this. There was
Mhm.
a particular incident, or what was it? Was it natural or well thought out?
I think it was a bit of both. So, we've heard those stories of, where a girl gets always told, like, dress up less, it's not a fashion show we are going
Yeah.
to. So, that was always me. So, I knew what I wanted to do because it wasn't merely dressing up, it had a great meaning behind it for me. Because, when we all grew up watching those American shows, and for me, my role
Possible.
model was Hannah Montana and
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus, of course.
Yeah.
So I think wanted to be that. I learned my fashion from that, and
Okay.
so they were like the influencing factors, and pop music, of course. And then I pursued my undergrad in fashion. And when I got into fashion, actually, the textile designing bit, I realized, like, do it, like, dressing up is one thing, but kind of knowing what fashion is another thing. Because what I
Yeah.
learned in fashion was like India is so rich in culture, heritage, and
Yeah.
we have so many textiles, and all of them are sustainable. Like from kalamkari saris
Yeah.
to silks we
Yeah.
make, it's all in a sustainable way we do it. So I was
Yeah.
like, when my own country has so much to offer, why don't let the world know about it? So I
Yeah.
think that was intriguing point where I was learning about fashion more and its history rather than just dressing up. So I think
Yeah.
that's why I wanted not a fashion. I didn't think of becoming a fashion influencer. It was more about, oh, I want to talk about it. It's
You
so
want to talk about
interesting. Like
it.
if
Yeah.
I'm interested, there must be someone who else is interested
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
And I think not many people were talking about sustainable fashion back like 6 7 years ago on social media. Especially, we were all about Zara, H&M. So I
Yeah.
think that's what kind of inspired me to get
Yeah.
into this.
Okay. So it came naturally to you. It was your passion. You were always into sustainable
Yeah.
fashion, especially Indian textile.
Yes.
Start
Yes.
with,
Yes.
like you mentioned,
Definitely.
kalamkari and all,
Hmm.
and you wanted basically people to know. So this
Yeah.
is, from this is from where you started
I think,
the whole
yeah,
thing.
my mother was a great influence as well because she loves collecting saris, and
Yeah.
it's not just like heavy embroidered designing saris. Her collection comprises of like sari. Because my dad was in Air Force, we traveled a lot. That
Okay.
means we kind of lived in different areas, and I
Yeah.
was born in Assam, even though I'm a
Oh,
Punjab.
you were born in Assam.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wow,
yeah. I was born
nice.
in Assam. So
Yeah.
I think my mom, she doesn't study fashion, but the amount of knowledge I've gained from her about different textiles, I don't think any book could
Ah,
have taught
okay.
me.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, that was also a contributing factor because when I used to talk about textiles, my mom would have so much to say, as much as I
Contribute.
never learned in the college. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was one case like, oh gosh, there's so many people who know
Yeah. Yeah.
about it more than me, and I want to
Yeah.
learn all about
Yeah.
it. So I
Yeah.
think that was another factor that contributed to it.
So it was environment at home as well, because your mother is also
Yeah,
very passionate
yeah,
about textile and all. That also
yeah,
contributed, of course,
yeah,
of
yeah,
course. Now that, yeah, now it makes sense, yeah, because you, so yeah, okay,
yeah.
naturally,
I
okay,
think my
so
mom, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, the credit goes to your mom.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you have worked, with brands in areas like charity,
Hmm.
skincare, or
Hmm.
technology. So
Yeah,
my question is that what do you think? What do you look for when choosing a
yeah.
brand to collaborate with? How do you make sure it fits with your
Um,
personal style and values? Because whatever I have seen, on
mhm,
your social media, you are into sustainability
mhm.
and ethical
Yeah.
practicing, if that's the, yeah. So I just, yeah, that will, I'll be curious to know that what's
Yeah.
your process, how do you choose?
Um, so I think choosing the brands that you work with is quite important, especially now that there's so many budding influencers. Almost everyone has their personal brand, and people are collaborating, and there's so many big brands coming up. So I think you need to be really calculated with who you collaborate
Yeah.
with. Uh, for example, me, I think what's the unique selling point of the brand and what how sustainable they are. Um, and also how inclusive the brand is. So I think when the brand approaches me first, even before responding to them, I do my own research about the brand and sort of look at their not production process. I'm not saying I do a thesis on them, but it's more
Yeah.
like even if I end up collaborating with the brand, I want to know about the brand because that kind of builds a personal connection with them. So yeah,
Yeah.
I do research about the brand, and if they kind of tick all the boxes, where they kind of will resonate with my own thoughts and own kind of
Yeah.
aspirations, and I if I resonate with their style, and so those
Yeah.
are a couple of important things. And yeah, when I say long term connection collaboration with the brand, like I don't want to be doing a one off collab and that's about it, because
Yeah.
I think so many people do that, and that kind of breaks the trust of your like followers. Even though I don't have a massive following, but I think even the 10 people that are regular on my post, they trust me for what I post, and they have questions about it. So if I post about a brand once and they never see me using it again, they clearly know it isn't something she uses, it's something that paid
Yeah.
her, and she's just
Yeah.
giving it to us. So I think long term collaboration with brands, I
Yeah.
think tells your followers as well that you actually believe and trust in the brand.
Yeah.
So that is another thing I try. And most situations I try, I'm not gonna lie here, I do sometimes do one-off collabs which are
Yeah.
more related to clothing, but then
Yeah.
skincare and products like that, food, I make sure I am only putting forward those things that I would definitely want to use it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So that is another important point. And of course, inclusivity and with marketing, I think inclusion has become a big thing. And I've realized it now, especially because I'm in a different country, and you know, like you're so like protective of yourself in a different environment. I get why people want more inclusivity in the brands and why people want different cultures, races
Yeah.
represented as a part of the
Yeah.
brand. So I think um, that learning has also brought changes in how I collaborate with the
Yeah.
brand. So yeah, these are the few things I
So you
look
do your
for.
own research, before
Yeah,
you sign up, for a collaboration to make sure
yeah,
that it aligns with your
yeah,
values, as an influencer, as
yeah,
a micro influencer, and you also, look for a long-term collaboration. And
definitely.
yeah, I kind of agree because long-term collaboration is a win-win situation for both parties,
It's true. That's
for
true.
for a brand and for an influencer too. Like, okay, so you do your
Yeah,
own research. Yeah, no, it's a good strategy. You just can't, because your followers trust you,
yeah,
for your,
yeah. That's
whatever
true.
you sell it to them. So of course, you have to believe in that very product that you are trying to
Mm.
promote, not sell, that you're trying to promote, that you're
Promote.
trying to,
Yeah,
yeah, the brand that you're collaborating with. Okay.
that's very true. Yeah, I think also like if it's a long term commitment, I think brand starts giving you the creative freedom as well. Because these days, a lot of brands they have their own script writers, this, that, and when I've
Yeah.
seen brands come to me and they're like, "Oh, you're only allowed to say this," I'm like, "No, they're not going to relate to it. What are you talking about?" But in
Yeah.
terms of a
Yeah.
long term collaboration, when you work with a certain brand, they just give you that creative freedom as well, where you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
be yourself and
Yeah.
kind of resonate to the brand at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
that advantages comes with
Okay.
long term collaboration as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, of course. So, one thing. So, speaking of creative independence, so when you collaborate, with the brand for the first time, do they give you instructions that this is how we want you to present our brand, or they give you independence that we have seen your content aligns with our
Mhm.
brand value, or whatever it is, and then they give you independence. How, and if they do not, how do you tackle that situation, where a brand is just basically instructing you that this is what, this is how you're going to promote a product.
I think it can be a bit of both. Like I've collaborated with a charity brand that gave me full creative freedom. I was
Yeah.
allowed to wear whatever makeup, style however the clothes I wanted
Yeah.
because the purpose was charity. It was not to please anyone. But I think when certain brands, for example, I work for the financial sector, and when in my previous company when we used to collaborate with the influencers, we want, because it's a very regulated field. I
Yeah.
and we need, if we are getting influencers, we need them to say certain things and not say certain things. So I think that depends.
Depends.
I
Yeah.
do understand the
Yeah.
not having the creative freedom sometimes, which
Yeah.
is fair enough on the brands, but not giving the creator like any
Yeah.
freedom at all, I don't
Yeah.
think that's the
Yeah.
right thing
Yeah.
to do, because
Yeah.
people who are following that creator are not following them because they are related to the brand, they're following them because of who they are. So I think both, it should be a
Yeah. Yeah.
balance of both, because obviously the brands don't want
Yeah.
their brand perception changing among
Yeah.
people just
Yeah.
because an
Yeah.
influencer
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
something. So I
Yeah.
think yes,
So
a
that's
bit
a
of
very
both.
a good point actually. The creative independence, should depend
Yes.
across the sector, because
Yes.
charity, it's a very sensitive
Hmm.
but industry, I would
Yeah.
say, and you have to be very very cautious. You just can't go or
Yeah.
basically creating the content
No.
the way you create it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense
Yeah.
actually. It depends upon the industry. Yeah. True.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, you have mentioned that the fashion industry, can be intimidating at
Yeah.
times, which I can
Hmm.
imagine. Uh, how did you overcome these challenges, especially when you were new to the UK? And I'm so sorry, I'm also going to ask you one more question. Do you feel that in the UK there is more competition, and or am I so honest that? And second, do you think that there is the community building
Hmm.
for brown influencers is a bit difficult? Not difficult, but I would say tough.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, let's answer your second question first.
Yeah,
I think community building is a bit harder because
yeah,
as an
yeah,
immigrant, basically, it's
yeah,
just not fashion, then it's everything. Like, to make friends is difficult because you're starting off from scratch at, like, what I started at
yeah,
23, 22 when I moved to the UK, and I had my certain ways of how I did things back in India, but the ways of doing same
yeah,
things are exactly different here. So I think just to get adjusted and
yeah.
at the same time have confidence to speak up, and you're talking in a different language, like, come on, like,
Yeah, true that. Yeah,
half the time I'm like, oh, should I say it, should I not?
yeah,
But
yeah,
again, that thing has changed with time. So I think time is the thing. You just need to be consistent with
yeah.
everything. You
Consistency.
cannot just give up because it didn't happen in the first go. That means it will never happen.
Yeah,
So it is a bit tricky. We don't get it served on a platter, and I think
true that. Yeah,
constant efforts. Like, I think you would relate to it as well because you were pretty new, and
yeah,
because, like, things that we would do in a blink of an eye in India, like, let's do it. We think
yeah,
about the same thing 100 times doing it here
yeah,
because we
yeah.
are on our own, and
On our
you
own.
know there are
Yeah,
gonna be consequences of the steps you take. So I think it's more calculated moves here. I think that sometimes restricts you. But
yeah,
I think what I've learned from my experience is, like, just go for it. We'll see what happens. And
yeah,
usually, most of the times, it works for me. Sometimes it's like, I shouldn't have done it. But
yeah,
yeah, I think you learn from your experiences.
yeah.
I
True
would
that.
say,
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
it's a bit difficult overall, but it gets easier with time.
It gets easier. So in the beginning, it was intimidating for you, but later on,
Very.
with consistency and
Yeah.
creativity, basically, you got to hold on to it.
That's true. That's true. I think it's
Yes.
the number of yeses you'd say to the things. For example, if I didn't say yes to this podcast, I wouldn't be talking to such an amazing person. So I think
Yeah,
it's just taking it
yeah,
that
yeah,
opportunity to say yes
yeah.
and see what happens. Just, like, go for it.
Yeah. That is true. As an immigrant, you have to
Calculate everything.
yeah, calculate everything. And I really like that point. You have to become a yes person. You have to say yes to freaking everything that comes
Everything, yeah.
along your way. Yeah,
I know, right?
yeah.
But yeah.
True that. True that. No, I completely agree with that point. You have to say yes
Yeah.
to whichever opportunity comes your way.
I know. I
Yeah.
know.
Oh, Sylvia,
Doing that.
with your knowledge of both, in digital marketing and fashion, how do
Mhm.
you think the two industries influence each other in today's, digital world?
I think, yeah, what I would say is fashion, it brings sort of the creative side, and marketing kind of harnesses, spreading it wide. So I
Yeah,
think both the industries are very codependent on each other. For example, like, let's say influencers.
yeah,
Influencers have become like the key players in, blurring the lines between personal style and promotions. And at the same time, marketing kind of harnesses the power of storytelling and kind of
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
spreads a word about it. So I think, fashion and marketing are very, very codependent on each other, and especially in sustainability and conscious consumerism, where, for brands like Zara and H&M, we always talk about these brands. The
yeah,
sustainability was just a concept for them.
yeah,
um, they're actually taking measures to make their production process more ethical, and
yeah,
that has happened because of marketing again, because people are so aware, people are aware of
yeah,
about the brands, their
yeah,
supply chains, and
yeah,
people are actually researching about what they're wearing. And I think now, sustainability has become anyway non-negotiable for any brand coming up, because the people are very aware of things.
yeah,
Um, and also things like, online shopping is booming with AI
yeah,
because of the advancement in technologies, AI, virtual try-ons,
yeah,
and for online shopping, marketing again comes into play when you have targeted ads for what kind of
yeah,
consumers you want to reach to.
yeah,
So I think both the
yeah,
fields are very much kind of
yeah,
codependent on each other,
yeah, yeah.
in various aspects as well.
Yeah, you're right about that. The consumer, has become very
Hmm.
conscious
Yeah,
about their choices. Especially when it comes to brands. Whether they are following, whether they are into ethical practices or not. So
yeah,
I come, yeah, that is true. And yeah, you're right about that. That influencer. When you are an influencer, there are a lot of things
yeah,
that the I would say the digital marketing skill
yeah.
said basically that come in handy. For example,
Yes, yes,
as an influencer, you have to create your content, you have to edit your content, you have to brand collaboration, and
yeah.
basically the posting time, and
Mhm.
it's so this is all a part of a digital marketing. So
That's true.
yeah, so I'm pretty sure that your skill set in digital marketing, actually you make a quite a most out of the skill set into
Yeah,
your
I think so. I
influencer.
think it's helped me out. My sudden decision has helped me out
Yeah.
somehow. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
yeah.
good. Okay, so what's your process for creating content? How do you keep the balance between being creative and making sure that your audience stays engaged? Because
Mm,
I can understand, you being, I would say, being a conscious influencer, who believes in, sustainability and ethical practices. For you, at times, you would want to go creative, basically
yeah,
bring out your own creativity, but then the trend on the social media is something else.
yeah,
And of course, because you would also want to keep your audience
yeah.
engaged
That's true.
slash entertained. So how do you find the balance between two?
Um. So when I create my content, I just make sure it's authentic and
Yeah,
relatable. Just two simple things. It's
yeah,
new and people can relate. Like, if I'm gonna talk about history of fashion, why it started, and I lose, even though it is talking about fashion, I
yeah,
lose the context. Then it's no more about actually styling stuff. It's more about
yeah,
history. So you need
Yeah.
to be very careful about what you say on your social media. Any wrong move can, cost you lack of loss of
Yeah.
followers. So
Yeah.
yeah, when I create my content, these are the two things. I make sure it's authentic and relatable at the same time for my particular audience. And I like to have like content pillars.
Okay.
Now content pillars, 3 to 5 content pillars basically. I personally have three, which are like it's about personal style and Indo-Western style.
Okay.
Then the second one is lifestyle, and
Okay.
the third one is motivational.
Okay.
But the common denominator between the three is fashion. So I make sure whatever I am doing, if it's even if it's lifestyle, I relate it to fashion. Even if it's motivational, I am still serving looks, okay? And
Yeah.
at the same time, I am I am giving my followers what they want, but at the
What they
same
want.
time, I am sharing my, for example, Indo-Western styling. I love to, mishmash kind of the global styles with
Yeah.
my Indian jewelry. I'll put a bindi someday with my choker necklace and wear a blazer and go to work. People get intrigued, but that's me, isn't it? Because yeah, so
Yeah.
I think it's just like being real, and when it comes to lifestyle, I post those shots of me in the office at work, and it still
Yeah.
relates to fashion. It's lifestyle, but it's fashion again. So, and when I'm talking about say motivational stuff like how I started my
Yeah.
life in the UK or whatever, I make sure I don't look like as if I've just gotten out of the bed. I still make sure I'm looking presentable. So I think my particular followers are there because they want to see how different I can style things, what
Yeah.
has inspired my fashion sense, or how I, combine two cultures together. So I make
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
these are the three things that inspire me to make content, but at the same time, I make sure I am kind of relating to fashion at the same time. So this is one thing, and then of course comes the fun part, which is like content creation. Then you have the
Yeah.
brainstorming part, and also brainstorming kind of depends upon the trends and the feedback. And again, my personal brand at the same time. So I follow trends, but at the same time, I don't deviate from my own personal brand, and I follow feedback. For example, um, I think someone on my profile said, what did they say? They made a comment about, how something else would look better with that, and I
Yeah.
make sure I that is more of responding. So I don't, taking criticism positively. Like, okay, if they're telling me like this looks better with this, let me just try it and show it to them, and that creates kind of engagement. So I think
Yeah.
taking the feedback and creating something out of it is what an influencer does. So you do that, and of course collaboration with other collaborators,
Yeah.
and using keywords, because I do YouTube sometimes, so I make sure I use keywords, and
Yeah.
creating content that sort of has the potential of adding questions, asking my audience if they like it, and if I'm trying going to do something new. Like this morning, I posted about, oh, I was prepping for my podcast with you, and people were really intrigued. They were like, oh, you're prepping, because there's no shame in telling. Like, I prepare for things as well. I'm not a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
confident person as I might come across as. So
Yeah.
I need to prepare, or I get so nervous in front of the cameras every time someone comes. Like, I model sometimes, and when a photographer comes, I need to like bring that confidence from within, like,
Yeah.
Sakshi, you can do it, and then it comes out. I'm not a very very super confident person
Yeah.
generally, so I think letting your followers relate to your
Yeah.
insecurities as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I think brings kind of more engagement. So these are the few steps
Yeah.
that I follow, particularly for me, and they work for me.
Yeah. So, as an influencer, you like to be authentic. You do not only show all the goody goodies,
Right.
of your life. You also, like to talk about your insecurities, as we all of us have.
Yeah.
And you like to be, transparent, and also you like to basically engage with them if they are
Yeah.
asking a question. You basically respond to them, through
Yeah.
your content strategy or content. And for
Mhm.
content creation, your process is that you have got 5 content pillars. So
Yeah.
one was, I just
Three
need
content pillars. One
three
is
content.
personal style and Indo-Western styling. and second one is lifestyle, and third one is motivational story.
Motivation. And you make sure that fashion is the common
The
denominator.
common denominator, yes,
Ah,
that's correct.
yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Nice to hear that. I really like that point that you do not basically, show all the shiny parts, of your life, but also, how life, can be difficult.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
uh,
that's
yeah,
very true. Like I'm not getting out in the morning at 5 in
yeah,
my pretty juicy couture pajamas and looking all pretty. I look rubbish when I wake up in the morning. Like I
yeah,
need to wash my face or people won't recognize me. So yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's pretty normal. I think
Yeah, that's
which
pretty normal,
people need
natural.
to
Yeah,
know.
yeah. For everybody, yeah. True.
Yeah.
So tell me, as a
Mhm,
freelance, fashion stylist, can
mhm,
you tell us about a project or, moment where you felt your vision or an idea
mhm.
came to life, in a really special way that you were like, okay, this is the moment, I've been waiting for.
Yeah. So actually, like very recently, I think starting of last year, I started my fashion styling journey, and this was through a person I met in an events. Who owned the events company, and through him I sort of, we were just talking, and that's what I said, like it's about saying yes. The first project that I did with him was unpaid, so if I was like too big headed, I was like, no, 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 I can't do it because it's
Yeah.
not paid, and I'm this person. How can they even expect me to do something for free? No, that doesn't work like that. And especially when you're so new to the industry, just take what you're being served. Like obviously don't get exploited, but you know um so this and by doing that shoot, that means I met a bunch of people who were in the industry, that
Okay.
widened sort of my network. And then I got approached for doing a photo shoot, like styling for a photo shoot for Manyavar. I think you might know. It was
Manyavar, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
It's
very
like
a big
ethical,
Indian
yeah, ethnic wear
wedding
brand, not
brand,
ethical.
wedding clothing brand.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow. So you collaborated with Manyavar, yeah.
Yes, yes, I did. I collaborated with Manyavar. They opened their recently opened, not recently, this last year. They opened their store in Sakol, and they wanted to do their whole social media and create some looks out of the stuff they had in the store and create some reels for that. And then I had to start like two female models and two male models. I've never done male models, but they showed like trust in me, and I did have someone to assist me as well who would. But then I could lead the project by my own, so that was like I wasn't thinking much of it, and I'm not a major Indian wear stylist as well. But then that kind of gave me a perspective like, look, you're Indian, and who else in this country could do Indian better than you? It is you. So, you need to
Yeah.
motivate yourself. So, kind of do it, because I was like behind, oh, I want to do Western fashion. But sometimes you just get given and you just kind of explore yourself like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this side was in me and I never thought about it. So, I think that was a project that gave me a feeling of you're almost there, like you can do it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
just
you
do
have
it.
arrived.
And
You're
yeah,
getting there. You have arrived. You have almost
yeah,
arrived.
yes, exactly.
Arrived.
And I think, and it opened like new perspective for me, like where I thought, okay, I can actually get into Indian fashion, because I never thought about it really. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was one project that I did. I just felt proud of myself doing that. Oh,
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
styling shoot for Manya.
That's great to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
Manyavar is I would say it's a household name.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, good for you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Tell me, how has living in London, changed your style and the way you think about fashion? Has it made any impact? I know what is so different over here
Mhm.
that you do not find back home in India. Is there any difference? If yeah,
Mm, I would say a lot of ways London has inspired me in terms of, I think I've become more
yeah,
confident in what I'm wearing. I think there's
yeah,
less people to judge.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Of course,
India's
those
changed
aunties,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think India has changed now. a lot. Like
A
you
lot,
can
but still long way to go.
long way to go. But I
Yeah,
think London is such a melting pot of cultures, like global cultures. We're not just talking UK,
yeah,
we're talking people from all over the world are here. And
yeah,
then you see and you learn, and fashion is like about merging old with new and vintage. And then so many people, like I think in India a long time ago, thrifting was still a taboo. Like, why are you wearing second hand clothes?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of people are realizing that in India that thrifting can be cool as well.
It can be
So
good. And
yeah.
do you know there is a trend in India where, because now, because again, Indian attire, like,
Mhm.
they are very expensive.
Yeah,
But now there is a trend, like, there are plethora of stores, who offer
yeah,
this basically
that's true.
rent
Yeah,
your
that's it.
person.
I think
Yeah,
I think India, like I think what India needs to learn is to actually do things without being sort of Western approved, because we have
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot to offer.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
unpopular opinion, but we like to follow the Western lot. I
Yeah,
think that
true
needs to
that. And
change as well.
yeah, and not many times, yeah, yeah, I would, agree. And that is the topic I can also talk about. Because I mean, you should actually, following, basically Western, fashion. But again, at the same time, you should also, look for your, pay attention, pay attention to your body type, your
Yeah.
personality, and
Mm-hmm.
then basically, try and,
Yeah,
yeah, basically, try and, try out new styles, or,
that's true.
figure out, what your style is, then
Yeah,
basically following anybody, or just basically trying out. Anyway, I think, there is a lack of self awareness when it comes to India. Again, there is still a little bit of, again, it's improving every year with globalization and all, but
I agree.
still, like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's very true. Like things like even like slick back hairs.
yeah,
And people hated doing it in the schools, but now that it's Hailey Bieber
yeah,
and Kendall Jenner approved, we all love to do a slick back.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
I think I've gotten confident in terms of like, oh, I want to wear this and I will wear this, because not
yeah.
because everyone else is, but because I like to wear it, not
You
because
like to
it's
wear it. Yeah,
Western food. So I think I've become more confident in that. That London has taught me that, because there's no shortage of sort of unconventional styles in every
yeah,
part of the
yeah,
city. Like you have your amazing streetwear in Camden and polished, like posh looks in Mayfair. So
yeah,
and
yeah,
also London is a fashion capital. How can we forget that? So all the brands have their
yeah,
flagship
yeah,
stores here, and everywhere you walk, you're seeing amazing fashion, and you have access to runway shows. If you try
yeah,
hard for it, you might even get an entry. So yeah, it's
yeah,
just, I think, not fashion wise more, but I think personality wise,
yeah,
fashion personality. I don't know how to put that in words,
yeah,
but I think that London has given me,
yeah.
to just be confident and go for
Just,
it. And
yeah,
yeah, and we'll see if someone judges. Do we care? No, we don't.
yeah. London has given you a sense of confidence to basically go for
Very
a
much.
style that, you like to do, then
Yeah,
basically following the norms.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh,
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's been a great journey so far.
yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure. And I keep looking at your, Instagram, and yeah, they are
Oh,
very, cool. Fashion, the fashion videos and the clips that you make. They're very
oh, that's
creative.
sweet. Thank you. Thank you so much. I try.
And tell me, what advice, would you give to someone, who wants to start their journey as a free influencer, sorry. And if you
Yeah.
could go back, what's that one thing you wish you knew when you'd started?
Okay, so on this question, I'm not going to be very technical. I'm not going to tell them, see your engagement. I think that's a given now. Like everybody
Yeah,
knows about the algorithms,
yeah,
tracking data, analysis, and all sorts. But
yeah.
I think one advice I would give to myself is just be you. Like there's no one else like you on internet, because you are one person who can be, if you're being yourself, people are going to like it, and
Yeah,
and I think just being authentic. And I know sometimes I used to make content, and I just used to cringe, and I'd be like, what? I'm not posting that. I look so weird. I look like this. I don't think people are going to like it. Like,
yeah.
you need to have confidence in yourself. Like, imagine if you don't like yourself enough, how's anyone else going to
Anybody
appreciate
else?
that? So I think just be you, post what you like,
Yeah,
and go with the trends. But I think make a identity at the same time as well, because obviously trends are important nowadays to
yeah,
keep up with the ever changing demands of your followers. They want to see
yeah,
every
yeah,
trend, you doing every trend, but then keep your identity and what you're into alive. So that is one thing, and just consistency and being disciplined. Post every day, doesn't matter if you get an engagement, if you don't, one day
yeah,
people will see that, because you don't want to be in a position where you're posting amazing video one day and you're leaving it for 20 more days, because someone is going to come to your profile, see, oh, they're only he posted one video after like 20 days, so they're
yeah,
not bothered. They'd find someone better than you who posts every day. So I think the
yeah.
competition is high. Trust in yourself. Post regularly, and yeah, doesn't matter. Don't think you're being cringe. You're being you. So there's nothing wrong in being you.
Yeah. Okay. So be authentic, and because fashion influencers in industry is a highly competitive industry.
Yes,
Make sure that that you're posting every day,
yes, very
and
much
you're
so.
being consistent in your efforts, and also,
Yeah,
I mean, the engagement will be up and down, but you have to make sure that you are posting consistently.
yeah, that's true.
So that's, yeah. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now that we have come to this podcast, Sakshi, my last question for you would be, what are your plans, for the next 5 years? Sorry, I just don't want to sound like an interviewer, but what are you tell me, where you would be in the next 5 years? But because you have discussed that you would want to basically go further in the fashion industry.
Yeah,
So, as a fashion influencer. So, what are your plans, for the next 5 years?
I think fashion influencer and being into fashion is more of a side hustle for me,
Yeah,
because I am planning to learn marketing more, and I love fashion at the same time. So I
yeah,
think if it works out, I
it
want to
will.
be, yeah, it will. I think we manifest, right? So
Yeah,
it will.
it will.
If it works out and everything goes as planned, I would want to be in the fashion forecasting agency, working for, as a trend forecaster, because I do like my fashion and I do love my marketing at the same time. Um, and I think fashion forecasting is the best field where I could utilize both my
Yeah,
expertise, and of course, like I love talking to people and learning from their experiences. I think being in the marketing and fashion field has, taught me one thing: listen more. And the more I listen, the more I
yeah,
learn. So,
yeah.
uh, so I think fashion forecasting is the field where I
Fashion.
want to be, and I think there are a couple of challenges that come with it. So
Yeah,
the easier thing to do is like keep networking, don't be big headed, start saying yes to the opportunities you think are
yeah,
worth
yeah,
it, and of course, like I think to fashion is a field where if you want to end up, you need to have some sort of experience more than the
yeah,
studies itself.
yeah,
So like starting to make my own portfolio, and obviously my social media is sort of something where I post so that my creativity keeps going, and I, क्या बोलते
yeah.
हैं इंडिया में जंग ना लग जाए, like doesn't
Uh-huh.
get rusted your
Yeah,
your brain. So
yeah,
yeah, I want to do that. So yeah, these are, and obviously learning anything
learning it.
like in terms of
Yeah.
fashion and data. That these are the
So you would
things.
want to go in the direction of fashion forecasting because this is where you can
Yeah,
utilize both of your
both
skills, digital marketing and
and
your
fashion.
fashion influencer experience.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
well, I
true.
wish you all the best,
Thank
for
you so
your
much. Thank you.
endeavor.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for coming to this show, Sakshi. It has been lovely speaking with you, and it was a fun conversation.
It's been
And
my
yeah,
pleasure, honestly. I loved it.
yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank